the earthquake in Venezuela gave us a lesson. A whole dog identifying an innocent, helpless baby sleeping decided to go and give cover to the baby. And the collapsing building structures, as God will have it, came on top of the dog. But the dog successfully protected the baby. And for days, it held on until the debris were all removed and the dog was identified protecting the sleeping baby. I'm referring to a dog. We are human beings. I think we can do better than that. Please. That is why God made us to be in charge of the earth. But I'm not too sure we are all behaving like we are better than the dog. So finally, I call upon every honorable member of this House to embrace this initiative wholeheartedly. Let us return to our communities, work alongside our people, and demonstrate through our leadership that Parliament remains responsive to the needs of the nation, particularly in times of challenge. Together, let us help build a cleaner, healthier, safer, and more resilient Ghana. With this, I thank all of you for your attention. If it is the pleasure of the House, I will allow comments on this second statement. The first one was basically formal, referring the Constitution Amendment Bill to the Committee for consideration and report. But for this, it's a national matter, and I will allow members to make some comments on it. I can see the Majority Chief Whip on his feet. Yes, please.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Speaker, by way of guide, we propose that we take 2-2, and then the leaders will close. Speaker.
Minority from bench.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, we are in agreement with that.
So 2 from each side of the House, and then we'll take the leaders. 1 from each side of the House. That's the leaders. So it's 3-3. Who is to set the ball rolling? Yes. Honorable member. I should start from the minority. Who? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on the statement you made regarding His Excellency the President call for us to embark on a cleanup exercise for 2 days. Mr. Speaker, it's quite unfortunate that we have to lose some lives due to the heavy rainfall that engulfed this country about a week ago. Mr. Speaker, we know natural disasters are something that sometimes you cannot control, but we also know, if you look at what happened some days ago, that most of the gutters were choked with refuse, and some of them could have been averted or prevented due to indiscriminate construction around waterways is something that is quite unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, sometimes you can block fire, but for water, it's very difficult to be in the way of water. And as such, this 2-day call might help, but I think we need to go beyond just this 2 days call and have a mindset change as far as environmental issues are concerned. Mr. Speaker, if you travel to places like Europe, especially in Amsterdam, where it rains all year round, and they have water bodies around the cities, you don't tend to see such flooding happening when there's heavy downpour. But because we have not taken advantage of the natural environment that we have and preserve these streams within our cities and our towns, and we have constructed our buildings in such a way that we tend to block these waterways. And if we are to move around Accra right now, you realize that a lot of waterlogged areas have been redemarcated and redeveloped and try to change what nature has put in place to support us. Mr. Speaker, so this 2-day call is good. We are in support of it. But I think we need to move beyond that, whereby we have to work with the security agencies, with the Ministry of Environment, with the Ministry of Interior, with the local government ministry, with the Ministry of Defense to make sure that proper planning is happening, and also to encourage the redesigning of our cities and our towns so that people can build properly, students can be conscientized, because we are asking that we go back to our communities for 2 days. But what is the Ministry of Education, for instance, is doing on this agenda? That we are encouraging our young ones that segregation of refuse is very critical. That recycling is something that we can encourage, so that even within our homes, when we make dirt, we are properly segregating this dirt so we can properly recycle them. And this is something that the Ministry of Education can be on board properly, so we can start from the early stages. Then we can educate and train our young ones that whatever we want to prevent, we have to start protecting it from now. So I'll support this call, by Mr. Speaker. I believe that we need to move on and probably refer this to 2 committees, the Committee on Health, the Committee of Education, so that they can encourage a policy direction that can help us prevent certain in the future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members, we will continue, but my attention has been drawn to the fact that we've had some visitors who may want to leave us very soon. So let me just acknowledge their presence and we'll continue. We have a dance ensemble group. I think they call it, is it Agbeyeye? Agbeyeye Dance Ensemble. They are led by, the group is led by Mr. Listowell Agbeli. He is a group leader. There are 67 in number from the Agate Afajato South. They are being led here by the paramount chief of Agate himself, Togega Adom the 10th. and also the Queen Mother herself, Mamaga Adomwa Afefa the First. You can see the dance ensemble group. They definitely are on their feet. Our traditional leaders are well adorned and seated there in front of them. This is to the left side at the public gallery of the Speaker. On behalf of the House, I want to warmly welcome you. We are happy that you are here to observe what we do, and I wish that you do that more often and get the opportunity to interact with your members to draw their attention to the code of conduct of a member of parliament or leadership in general. Leadership in general. Once you become a leader, there are some things you can't do. You must change to be a leader. And so I treasure your presence, and I want to thank you for coming. Please, dance ensemble, you may resume your seats. We also have with the Paramount Chief and Mamaga a number of sub-chiefs, also of Agate. We have Togbe Zebula the Third. We have also Togbe Akole. They are here definitely to support the Paramount Chief and the dance ensemble. Again, we have some students from a number of communities. The first one is the Amrahia community. The leader is a teacher by name Abalom Nate. This is located in the Adenta constituency, and there are 74 in number. We also have the Liberty Preparatory School, led by the teacher Eric Asari, and they are located at Anya Soutum. They are also 65 in number. And the Stardom Foundation Central, AG, the founder himself is here, Jeremiah Granting. They are located at Tema Central. They are 29 in number. We have a Child's Place School, led by the headmaster, Godwin Asari. They are located at Nsawam, Aduajiri. Please, on your behalf, I warmly welcome all these students, together with the leaders, the teachers, the founders, the headmaster, to Parliament. Please, this is your house. Keep on coming. We pray and we're working towards the future so that when you come here, you'll be better than we are. You'll be more patriotic, more hardworking, to keep the wheels of governance going, to develop faster our country. So you are all warmly welcome. Now, can we take comments from somebody from the majority side? If I have three of you, you know I will take the most senior. That's what happens in the house.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Who is claiming to be the most senior? The voice I heard was not a female's voice.
Mr. Speaker, I was only reminding you that I'm taking my seat, sir. Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on the statement ably made by your good self. Mr. Speaker, this statement couldn't have come at any better given time than today. However, my condolences to the families of the bereaved, and that we feel very bad that this has been happening over the years. We are here and ready, and we here should ensure that we support especially the bereaved families and then the affected individuals. Mr. Speaker, according to some sources, floods in Accra is not a yesterday's problem. The first floods, Mr. Speaker, occurred in 1935. The second one was in 1955. The third one, 1960. The fourth one, 1973. The fifth one, 1995. And then another one in 2015. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, for me, as we sit here, the best thing for us to do is to stop lamenting. Mr. Speaker, we need action. We need to work. We need to work more than talk. Let us walk the talk. Mr. Speaker, year in, year out, especially the last time, I think that we had not less than $350 million support to take care of the floods, to mitigate it. Unfortunately, today as we speak, there are questions that need to be asked and questions that should be answered. Mr. Speaker, this notwithstanding, why will we be waiting since 1935 to be supported before we are able to act? Individuals are the cause of these issues. Mr. Speaker, we build on waterways. We throw rubbish anywhere, choking gutters. I was surprised that on that day when the floods, before even the floods took a very serious turn, some colleague women came out as I watched them on television, dumping rubbish from fertilizer bags into gutters. Unfortunately, nobody has ever come out to tell another person that that is a wrong behavior or attitude. Mr. Speaker, we should go beyond keeping quiet. Mr. Speaker, for me, sanitation should be part and parcel of our educational system. We should start from the grassroots. In the good old days, in every school, we had places where, places and days, when cleaning was done, and where rubbish was burnt, and where some of the rubbish was turned into compost, and farmers used them. Mr. Speaker, we used to have incinerators, where even rubbish from families or from homes were cared for. What has happened? Mr. Speaker, we need the people we used to have employed, properly paid, resourced, so that they can work. These are those we used to call the sama-sama. We should bring them back. But that notwithstanding, you and I should be responsible. Mr. Speaker, it is a good idea that we go back to support our families, to support our communities, to ensure that the national cleaning exercise takes a better turn. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to underpin the call and the statement ably made by yourself. and the fact that we need to, as a matter of urgency, put our heads, our energies, our resources together and our knowledge to deal with this catastrophe once and for all. Mr. Speaker, as has been enumerated by my honorable member from the other side who just spoke, it has been occurring as a country, not just today, I think about even 30 years ago. The only difference is that in terms of magnitude, in terms of devastation, in terms of fatality, in terms of life loss, we've never experienced this thing before. Mr. Speaker, I think I would like to use this opportunity and what has happened to advise all relevant stakeholders, especially some of us that we have been given the mandate by the good people of this country to solve problems and develop social policies and frameworks that will deal with some of these unacceptable incidents or events. Mr. Speaker, fundamentally, there are causes. And most of us here know what are the fundamental causes. Number one to me is our behavioral pattern as a people, the way we behave. Mr. Speaker, I think we need to be very careful with human-induced land use malpractices in this part of the world, in terms of where we site and locate buildings and how we put them up. Even elsewhere, countries such as Dubai and other countries, they are able to even build on the sea and nothing happens. How come that in our country, just a small stream, because the way we build without engaging appropriate and relevant stakeholders or engineers, we just fill all these places. Oh, go, please. We put up these socially unacceptable behaviors and we ensnare ourselves and we begin to blame each other. Mr. Speaker, one of the things I've noticed, which has played very well also here, is the way when it happens, depending on where one's interest is, we blame each other. And the most painful thing is, the very time we are blaming each other, we don't seem to conduct the needed research and find solutions. So it keeps on happening. I think we need to deal with fundamentals of some of these problems or difficulties or devastations, rather than always just blaming. But Mr. Speaker, this brings me back to what our President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the illustration, the pictorial evidence of the way he castigated the previous government. I was thinking doing so, he had every opportunity at that time to develop the needed social framework in handling and mitigating the devastation impact of what is happening today. We were insulted, we were attacked, we were bastardized as if our government at that time had no even iota of ability in handling social issues. And today what is happening? In terms of impact, in terms of destruction, in terms of devastation, it has been enlarged by a scale factor infinity. And I think it is an admonishment, advice to all of us, we in opposition and those in government, that we need to put an end to this incident or issues where people just blame without finding solution to it, and they come to power and it confronts them. Even now, Mr. Speaker, my last point is, we are still politicizing this, especially from our brothers from the other side. They are even going to the extent of blaming us that we Oh, and surprisingly, put it off. I'm not
Please,
coming to start.
honorable members, please, honorable members. Who is trying to control the time? No interference, please. No member of parliament has the mandate to control the issue of time. Is that of the speakers, not members of parliament? So please, you can continue.
Thank you, Father. That's why I'm the biological son. All of them are. They are all. Oh, let me speak at least for once. Allow me. Mr. Speaker, the point that I was making with respect to me, the unnecessary attack on the previous government about this fund diversion was that we have a country with laws. We have exclusion clauses, even how we need to manage our finances. And Mr. Speaker, PFM Act 921, Section 18, state three main incidents that we can even tamper with our fiscal policies upon consultation. That's Section 18. One is war. Two is natural disaster. Three is when there's a health situation, either pandemic or endemic, like we experience. So this issue they are raising and deceiving the public as if our government diverts funds into doing things that were not productive must be stopped. So all of us can support this very good call, work together, think together, and deal with the very situation that is destroying and killing our own brothers and children and women at home and destroying properties. Mr. Speaker, having said this, I would like my colleagues, both from my side and the other side, to begin to revolutionize our mindset on most of these national issues and stop doing politics with them. I don't think that was the reason that people gave us their mandate. Apart from that, I would like to say that we need to work together. We need to think together. This is about Ghana. This is not about Accra. It's not about Kumasi. It's not about Tamale. This is not about Ama or Eku or Nale or Alaji to know. It's about Ghanaians. It's about properties. It could have been your relative or my relative. But the question is, are we not going to experience this thing tomorrow, next week, next year, next decade? Another question is that, does it always have to happen under NDC in terms of the velocity, the momentum, the magnitude, the distraction? There's something we need to go beyond physical. Mr. Speaker, I would like to end this and say that we are ready to support this cause. We are going to work together with you and other stakeholders, and we will also educate the people, the masses, to understand the fact that some of the more practices that they put up there comes round to have that effect on all of us. So I think we need to behave well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Last from the majority side. Majority Leader, now I have your two we are looking at the constituencies that were more affected. Which one? Yes, Majority Chief Whip. Yes. The minister at the office of the president stood up, and then also my daughter here.
Mr. Speaker, we had agreed that we'll take 2-2 and then leadership, by giving the sentiments that your statement, I should say, has generated. Members are interested. I pray that we do additional 1-1 before the leaders, in addition to the 2-2. So it becomes 3-3 before the leaders conclude, Mr. Speaker. That's my humble prayer, so that we can accommodate.
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, as much as I'm not opposed to it, but this application is made based on the fact that he can't give priority to the Minister for Gender. Mr. Speaker, when you were to call their first speaker, you said who is senior? The Minister for Government Communication is a first-time MP. So the Gender Minister is senior. But because he cannot give that priority to the Gender Minister, he is varying to include the Minister for Government. So, Mr. Speaker, we don't have any problem with that variation. So we can add an additional person. But it is a statement of fact that the Minister for Government Communication is a first-time MP. He's a first-timer.
Mr. Speaker, my prayer is based purely on the number of members who are interested in making comments. It's purely based on that. It's not because I am unable to yield to the Minister for Gender. So, Mr. Speaker, the mischief that the First Deputy Minority Whip seeks to generate should be glossed over. Mr. Speaker, I pray that we do 3-3 and then the leaders can conclude. I thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just gave this opportunity because I didn't know the strategy of the majority side, and due to the limitation on numbers, I didn't know whether they had discussed that the minister at the office of the president will make a contribution or this. And so that is why I gave them the opportunity. So, Minister, you may do so now. Then after that, I will take the Minister for Gender. Yes, so Minister, Gender, please.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice to the many voices in commending His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, for giving this instruction. We cannot continue to behave like ostriches and think that what has happened will go away by itself. It takes a responsive leadership to attend to the issues or the aftermath of the flood. Mr. Speaker, I want to also express my deepest condolences to the bereaved families and also those who have been affected one way or the other, especially the single-headed household by women. I just want them to know that in this trying time, the nation stands with them, and they are not alone. A step after the other, we will together overcome this challenge. Mr. Speaker, in listing the committees, I heard all the committees that have been listed, and I want to make an appeal to you to add the Committee on Gender, to give official recognition to what women do the best. That is when it comes to the issues of sanitation. You know, no one does it better than women. And as women are one of the most affected, I would urge the House to add them to it. And then I will also appeal to colleagues that what we saw is not just one of those stories that we read about and it goes away. These are lived experiences of people that will take several years and decades to go away. In our deliberation and our support to this cleaning exercise, let us work with our local authorities to ensure that we have lasting solutions to the problem that faces us. And I would urge us all that as we go into our constituencies, we touch base with those who have been affected, and then work with the health officials to look out for possible outbreak of diseases that can affect or worsen the situation we find ourselves in. On this note, I just want to say, let us all stand together as a nation. This is not the time for us to blame each other whilst others are in deep sorrow. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this great opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I believe that we all understand that the recent floods has been a major disaster in this country. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, we need to console bereaved families and all those who have lost property or whatever in these floods. Mr. Speaker, what baffles my mind is that how come that in 2015, over 130 persons died in the floods, and currently over 40 persons have also died in the floods. Mr. Speaker, we all know that leadership is cause, all others are effects. The flooding in Ghana has been mitigated over the period of time. So how come that we are still having a reverse of what had been put in place? Mr. Speaker, one of the major difficulties we have in this country causing the floods has to do with infrastructure and the maintenance of those infrastructure. Consistently over the period of time, we've realized that government after government have raised a lot of money to invest in these areas. Unfortunately, it seems that this year and last year, the implementation of some of these projects have stalled because of decisions of leadership all over the country. Last year, in my own constituency, there were some floods because they couldn't just clean the drains. Because all the projects they were trying to implement, they were told that they needed a commitment authorization. That is leadership. And if that leadership fails in that direction, Mr. Speaker, the floods would happen. I believe that it is time that the president and his current leadership take bold decisions to implement what needs to be done so that this doesn't reoccur again. Mr. Speaker, one of my biggest challenges is that if you take a place like Circle, there are no buildings in the waterways because otherwise they would have been broken down long ago. So how come they are still flooding? The simple fact is that just a contract of somebody working has been terminated. Mr. Speaker, my mother always told me this. He said that when you are cooking, you clean as you cook, so that by the time you finish cooking, the place is clean. In a situation where we are removing somebody from working on a contract without a replacement, clearly that is not leadership. And I believe that we need to sit up and work on some of these things. Mr. Speaker, the other issue has to do with centralization. In this country, everybody is waiting for Accra. But Accra can't save itself. So why should we always continue to always be looking up to Accra? Mr. Speaker, when the drip machines came, it came with backhoes. It came with excavators. How come the districts are not using them to clean their gutters and their drainages before the rain sets in? People are just waiting for Accra. Everybody's waiting for Accra. And that is why it is very important that we make sure the mindset of our people also change. Mr. Speaker, this dependency on Accra is becoming too much of a problem. Too much of a problem. Because every time the assemblies are able to take a decision to clean up the silt, dredge, before the rain sets in, the impact is minimal. The floods are minimal. Our own people also need to change their mindset, how they treat waste. Mr. Speaker, as even me, when I drink water, ice cream, whatever, anywhere, I put it in my jacket and get it home before I dispose of it. A lot of our people think that somebody is going to do some work for them, and therefore they leave these things to chance. And the accumulation of these things consistently continue to block our waterways and create flooding situations all over our country. So I believe that whilst we are advising the government to take these bold decisions, we should also advise our people to also do the needful so that these flooding situations do not continue to happen. Mr. Speaker, in our own situation, one of the areas I believe that we need to be looking at is what? Digitalizing the tank council that has been scrapped some time ago back into our system. In the Western region, we introduced what we call the e-tankers. I believe that it is time we scale it up across the length and breadth of our country so that ordinary people can report persons who are indiscriminately disposing of waste. If we are able to scale it up at the national level, across the districts, I believe that people will be on the lookout for those who have been creating a lot of mayhem in our communities. Mr. Speaker, the cleaning that has been proposed by the President Friday and Saturday is not enough. We should clean every day. We should clean every day. We don't need any special holidays to clean. We should clean as we go. This business of doing monthly sanitation day is a waste of public money. It's just a complete waste of public money. Because those monies can be used every day to clean every day. And I believe that, Mr. Speaker, these are one of the areas I believe that we have to look at. Because all the districts, as we speak today, have enough sanitation equipment to work with. They have men and women who can be recruited to work with. And even now, a lot of the budget has been sent to the districts. But when you send the budget to the districts, and the same government tells them that wait for me before you can spend the money, naturally when the rain sets in, you should know the crisis would happen. Mr. Speaker, as we speak today, a lot of the assemblies couldn't spend their sanitation money because they were waiting for commitment authorization. And that is where we've had a lot of problems. Mr. Speaker, one other area is that in a lot of the regions, especially the Greater Accra, we are told that the rains come from the mountains into the Accra region. So we need some engineering as well. We need to raise the money to do it. Without raising the money, Mr. Speaker, we will not be able to do some of these things. On this note, Mr. Speaker, I believe that we should clean every day, we should build the infrastructure, and also change our mindsets so that this country do not suffer these consequences again. But like I said earlier, leadership is cause, all others are effects. And like I said some time ago, the opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is intentionality. It is not about emotions. And therefore, if we are prepared to change the course of this problem, we have to be intentional about it. And we have to find the solutions now and create a new reality for the Ghanaian people. With this view, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I had the honor of putting out a statement on the authority of His Excellency the President to call on the people of Ghana to set aside this weekend, that is Friday and Saturday, to clean our communities. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, the President was not shifting responsibility from his government onto the people of Ghana. He was merely galvanizing the support of the people of Ghana to address what has become a perennial problem. Mr. Speaker, government can only do so much, but if we do not get the full support of the people of Ghana, there's only so much that can be achieved. Mr. Speaker, as I speak to you, government, in the wake of these recent floods, has taken a number of steps to, first of all, bring relief to those who suffered during the floods, and also ensure that we mitigate the impact of future rainfall. So only last week, the minister responsible for finance was in Parliament to seek leave to go into the contingency fund and take out 350 million Ghana cedis for that purpose. And since then, significant work has gone on to achieve the objectives for which the money was sought. Mr. Speaker, several communities in the Greater Accra, Central and Volta regions have benefited from this relief efforts. Also, the President has appointed a distinguished military officer to lead an all-out assault on the causative factors of the floods. And Mr. Speaker, it has come to light that over the years, sheer indiscipline and complete disregard for existing laws have led to a situation where waterways have simply been taken over by residential and commercial facilities. Mr. Speaker, God in his infinite wisdom made provision for natural water storage so that in the event of a heavy downpour, we do not suffer a deluge. Mr. Speaker, human beings have decided to reverse this order and have left land which is in abundance and decided that they are going to fill those natural reservoirs with all sorts of materials so that they can build on same. Mr. Speaker, last week, the coordinator of Garrett spoke at a press briefing where he showed videos of how natural mangroves and natural water sinks have been taken over. Some people are pouring refuse into the mangroves and Ramsar sites and topping it up with sand in order that they can build on same. Mr. Speaker, people have decided that Ramsar sites that are reserved for natural storage of water should become their place of abode, and so they are building on it with reckless abandon. Mr. Speaker, church buildings have been sited on waterways, and yet people go to church to seek to worship. All of these have happened over a period of time, not in the last 1.5 years. Mr. Speaker, to fix it, we must identify the problem. It would appear that our colleagues on the other side get rankled anytime this matter is raised. Mr. Speaker, any Ghanaian who criticized them in their 8-year tenure was entitled to do so. Mr. Speaker, for 8 years they had access to resources, not least amongst them $350 million under Garrett, to address the problem. For some reason, significant amounts out of that money was diverted into purposes that had nothing to do with flood prevention. So if Ghanaians demand accountability and raise this subject, they should show humility and accept responsibility rather than seeking to create the impression that it never happened. Mr. Speaker, President Mahama takes full responsibility and therefore will do what is right. But even as he has attempted to address this problem, some very bizarre narratives have emerged. Mr. Speaker, for instance, it has been suggested that because the president was on a helicopter to assess the extent of the situation, he had done something wrong. Mr. Speaker, the president did not go for a jolly ride. Mr. Speaker, the president was not in the helicopter for leisure. As president, he needed to take firm action. And the way to do it is to see the extent of the problem. Mr. Speaker, there are those who, for political reasons, suddenly believe that by merely going to one or two houses to shake hands, they had done what was right. But the responsibilities of a president are far weightier than that of an opposition leader. Mr. Speaker, I see some very bizarre logic also being espoused. We are told that the NDC was in power in 2015 when 130 people lost their lives. And that only last week there was a heavy downpour that led to the loss of lives of about 30 people. And so something is amiss. Mr. Speaker, you see, there's no room, Mr. Speaker, there's no room for that kind of misguided politicking in this discussion. People have said it here. The Honorable Member for Efia said it. Honorable Kobi Daku said it. Mr. Speaker, the amount of rainfall that we recorded last week or so was 140 millimeters in one day, 13 hours. In the whole of 2024, only 56 millimeters of rainfall was recorded. So it is only logical that we were going to suffer a deluge. So those narratives must be expunged. There must be no room for such illogical conclusions. There must be no room for such misguided politicking. When people have died, when indeed the entire West African coast has been submerged, including Cote d'Ivoire, where 59 people died, that is not a time for the sort of illogical, misguided politicking that some members of the opposition are engaged in. The fact that in 2015 people died has nothing to do with what has happened last week. Mr. Speaker, but President Mahama has said that firm action is going to be taken. Mr. Speaker, I recall that in 2007, when Mr. Ajay Blankson was then the AMA chief executive, he began an effort to rid our streets of hawkers. That was in 2007, a year to elections. To my utter dismay, a leading figure of the New Patriotic Party at the time went on live radio and said that that action was going to endanger the party's chances in elections. What I'm referring to is our tendency to allow political calculations to freeze us into inaction. Mr. Speaker, I can bet you that the moment this government starts taking action to clear the waterways of the structures that are blocking those waterways, you will see sections of Ghanaian society labeling government as insensitive. They will demand that a so-called human face be put to the exercise. And if we do not stand firm, we will allow political blackmail and intimidation to stop us from doing what is right. But President Mahama says, enough of that. He will do what is necessary to protect the people of Ghana, so that when the rains come, we do not suffer what you all suffered. Mr. Speaker, so in the spirit of the statement that you referred to, I enjoin all Ghanaians, especially those of us who have had the privilege of benefiting from the votes of the very people whose lives we need to protect, to support the efforts. Let us for once refrain from using political blackmail and intimidation to stop government from doing what is right. Mr. Speaker, that is not the same as criticizing the government for its failures. When you come to power for 8 years and you fail at a task, the people of Ghana have the right, indeed they more than have the right, to lay blame at your doorstep. What you do is to accept that and do better. But don't seek to deflect it with illogical and bizarre arguments about helicopters. That is not the way to go. So nobody can escape responsibility for what has happened. Those who were in power for 8 years and failed to address it, diverted monies for purposes other than flood prevention, cannot escape blame. They will permanently come under criticism for that failure. Mr. Speaker, if after 8 years we fail, we will deserve to be criticized. Failures of the past can always be cited, but it does not mean that we cannot do better going forward. Mr. Speaker, on that note, I thank you very much for the rallying call that you have made, and I expect all Ghanaians to rally behind government to ensure that we clean our communities. Mr. Speaker, it is not an excuse, or it does not mean that those 2 days are the only days that we should clean our communities. Mr. Speaker, it must become a daily activity. It is not all the time that we need to wait for government to take the initiative. Let us do our part by keeping our communities clean. Let us do our part by refraining from pouring or dumping refuse into drains. Let us do our part by complying with building regulations. Let us do our part by doing the right thing, so that together we will all work to prevent the tragedy that occurred last week Monday. I thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, it's now the turn of leaders. So, Minority Leader, please. I'm told you have agreed on 50 minutes each.
No, he spoke 30 minutes.
Honourable members, please listen to each other. My statement is, I'm told the leaders have agreed on 15 minutes each. And you are attacking the statement. That is a different issue. The leaders agreed that they will use 15 minutes each. 15 minutes each. As to the minutes they use, I granted that. These are totally different things. So you should raise it with the leaders, whether truly they have agreed to use 15 minutes each.
Speaker, originally the members were to take 5 minutes, but
there was no such original decision.
Very well,
there was no decision like
Mr.
that.
Speaker, yes. Mr. Speaker,
I consulted you, the leaders, and you said for leaders you are going to use 15 minutes each.
Mr. Speaker,
if your assumption was that the members will use 5 minutes each, that was not communicated to me.
Very well, Mr. Speaker. We pray for variation to allow us to have extended time to.
How many minutes each?
Mr. Speaker, 25 minutes. I would need 25 minutes. Mr. Speaker, because the backbencher spoke for 30 minutes. I will need 25 minutes.
I want to listen to the majority leader too. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, when members were commenting on the statement, I observed that they were timed out after 5 minutes. So when the clerk approached me, we had an engagement, and I said, if members are contributing for 5 minutes, leadership could do with 15 minutes. So I confirmed to the clerk that 15 minutes should be adequate. I think 15 minutes to comment on a government announcement that we should clean our neighborhoods on Friday and Saturday should be adequate. It should be sufficient. It should be sufficient. I don't know what anybody will be saying. I don't know what anybody will be saying that Mr. Speaker has not said already in the statement that he read to this House. So 15 minutes should be okay for leadership. Mr. Speaker, we have a long schedule of businesses that we must conduct. I mean, if you look at the order paper for the day, we have so many. We have several bills pending. We have not even taken the business statement for the week. So, Mr. Speaker, there's a lot to do today. And it is already 5 p.m. It is already 5 p.m. And we have a lot to cover. So let's just use 15 minutes each, and then we can get back to the business of the day.
Yeah, this is for leaders. So, Minority Leader.
Speaker, in view of the fact that our colleague who just spoke had over 27 minutes, I would plead. No, we watched it. Don't argue. Relax. I'm addressing Speaker, not you, please. Mr. Speaker, I would plead with you that kindly adjust for the 25 minutes. He may not need all the time. That's fine, because the government spokesperson has spoken. But I am the voice of the people. Mr. Speaker, I am the voice of the people. He has had the government spokesperson getting 27 minutes. So, as a leader of government business, he may choose to take just 5 minutes. But, Mr. Speaker, you are here to protect the minority. So, you grant me my 25 minutes. And then if he wants 5 minutes, because that added to the 27 minutes of the government spokesperson, that would be 32 minutes, and who would have just had 25 minutes. Mr. Speaker, as it pleases you, sir.
Please, Minority Leader, you may go on, but don't go beyond 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker,
let's listen to what he's going to say. Please.
Mr. Speaker, let me on behalf of the minority extend condolences to the bereaved families. Indeed, all of us saw the pictures, the videos, the many lives that suffered that day, that perished that day, and the properties that came under severe flood. Mr. Speaker, I would also, on behalf of my colleagues, thank you for bringing this important statement to the fore. Mr. Speaker, the spokesperson for government on his feet indicated that the government has drawn funds from the contingency account, an amount of 350 million Ghana cedis. He also indicated that in the past administration, certain funds were diverted. These were his contentions. Mr. Speaker, I submit, by way of my own comment to this matter, that the statement by the government communication minister, as well as the statement from the Ministry of Finance, that indeed, pursuant to the approval by the Finance Committee of the House on the 30th of June for the withdrawal of an amount of $350 million in cedis, in accordance with Article 177, Mr. Speaker, is false. Mr. Speaker, it is false because the contingency fund has suffered a garnishee order from the court. Mr. Speaker, for government spokesperson to come before Parliament to tell all of us that the withdrawal was made from the contingency fund, Mr. Speaker, is most misleading. Mr. Speaker, I am aware, indeed, I am aware, and indeed, I have the letter of the Attorney General. I have copies of the letter dated the 1st of July.
Minority Leader, just a minute. Yes, Majority Chief.
Mr. Speaker, this is unfair by him, not you, Mr. Speaker, by him.
Yes, Majority Chief.
Mr. Speaker, the minority leader is aware that as a House of Record, anything that he says must be backed by facts, hard facts. Oh, please, 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 please. So much so that to say that the finance minister's public statement that the 350 million was not indeed drawn from the contingency fund and that the contingency fund had been injected has been garnished. In that case, it's been injuncted. It cannot be assessed. Has to be backed by the evidence of the court case, the court order. It cannot be something that he will say whimsically and walk away, because it carries very heavy weight. So, Mr. Speaker, we want him to tender the court order as well as the case, respect the judgment of the court.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, you may go on. Please go on.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, it is my contention that the statement by the government communication minister to this house is false. The statement by the Ministry of Finance that funds were withdrawn from the contingency fund is also false, Mr. Speaker, and I submit that the contingency fund of the state has been subjected to a court order, a garnishing order. I have a letter of the Attorney General dated 1st July 2026, reference OAG MO9 /CSCR/50/7/26. Mr. Speaker, this letter is addressed to the Governor of the Central Bank, and the title, it says, "Dear Governor, release of funds from the contingency fund for the National Emergency Flood Response Program." Reads, reference is made to the conversation I had with you this afternoon regarding the above subject matter. You will recall that Parliament on Monday 29th June 2026, Parliament acting through its committee responsible for finance, pursuant to Article 1771 of the Constitution, authorized withdrawal of 350 million Ghana cedis from the contingency fund to finance National Emergency Flood Response Program. I have also taken note of the subsequent directive issued by the Ministry of Finance to the Comptroller and Accountant General, as well as the Comptroller and Accountant General's bank transfer advice to the Bank of Ghana for the release of the approved funds in furtherance of the National Emergency Flood Response Program. I am aware that the contingency fund is presently the subject of garnishing proceeding. Notwithstanding those proceedings, it is my considered opinion that the exceptional circumstance surrounding the national emergency and overriding public interest in safeguarding lives and property warrant immediate release of the approved funds to facilitate government emergency response. Accordingly, I advise that Bank of Ghana gives effect to the approval and directive already issued and proceed with the release of the 350 million from the contingency fund without delay in order to deal with the national emergency. Please accept, Governor, the assurances of my highest consideration. Mr. Speaker, Article 77, which was the constitutional provision upon which government came to the Finance Committee. Mr. Speaker, when they went for the withdrawal, the Attorney General himself advised the governor that account has been injuncted. They could not withdraw from the account.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, they therefore use another government account without Parliament approval.
Minority Leader,
Mr. Speaker,
hold on.
To take funds.
Just hold on. Go on. Please. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think the point of order was based on he saying that the Minister for Communication had said something else. What I recall the Minister for Communication, Government Communication saying was that the Finance Minister came to this house for authorization to withdraw 350 million Ghana cedis. And that has been made available to solve the problem. I have listened intently to the communication you have read, and clearly you are admitting that in spite of the Ganiche order, that the finance minister insisted on the money being released.
That was advised.
Is that okay? So you are now proceeding to argue the legality of the action of the finance minister, not whether or not 350 million Ghana cedis was made available for dealing with the flood victim issue. So I think that there is no misrepresentation here.
Majority Leader, we haven't reached there yet. He hasn't actually got to that stage. So let's listen to him, and maybe you can come back. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, even before, Mr. Speaker, before I proceed with my argument, Mr. Speaker, the front bench of the majority is acting very undemocratic. Mr. Speaker, as Democrats, they must have the tolerance. All the government communication minister said all he wanted to say. We kept quiet and listen. You are 189, but you can't catch small bullets. Then you come under the guise of point of order. What point of order? You cannot take small bullets from the minority. You should sit and listen. Mr. Speaker, my argument therefore is that for the government communications minister to come to the House of Parliament to tell Ghanaians that they have withdrawn from the contingency fund, Mr. Speaker, it's false. It is false. Because, Mr. Speaker, I will expose them the more. Because we have all the facts. We have a whole dossier here. So take it easy, Mr. Speaker. What I am saying is that the funds.
Please, let's get something clear.
Mr. Speaker, he said all he wanted to say.
Exactly. I will come to you. What he actually said was referring to the process that took place in Parliament. Requests being made for that money to be withdrawn from the contingency fund, and Parliament granted. But he did not go to the extent of saying that that money has been withdrawn from the contingency fund. So he did not say that. The minister did not say that. What you are saying is what you have discovered. You are entitled to say it. I'm not stopping you, but you can go on with that. But what I heard the minister say is what I'm relaying and drawing your attention to guide you. So you go on.
Mr. Speaker, the Finance Ministry issued a public statement and told the whole nation that pursuant to the approval by the Finance Committee of Parliament, withdrawals have been made from the contingent fund. That one is a public statement written and issued by the Finance Minister. Mr. Speaker, that I again contend it's false. It's false because, Mr. Speaker, at the material moment, at the material time that the Finance Ministry issued that statement, it knew that the government's contingency fund account had been garnished. And indeed, the Attorney General had attempted to invoke certain theories to compel the Bank of Ghana to release the funds. The Bank of Ghana did not release the funds because of the garnish order. Mr. Speaker, indeed, they went ahead to withdraw funds from other accounts of the state. Mr. Speaker, Article 178 is very clear. It's clear. No monies shall be withdrawn from the consolidated fund except A, to meet expenditure that is charged on the fund by this constitution or by an act of parliament, or where the issue of those monies has been authorized by an appropriation act or by supplementary estimate approved by resolution of parliament passed for the purpose. I, by an act of parliament enacted under Article 179 of the Constitution or by rules or regulation made under an act of parliament in respect of trust monies paid into the consolidated fund. Mr. Speaker, upon what authority did government go into other accounts to withdraw money? Mr. Speaker, they have breached the constitution using a national emergency to do that which was not authorized by parliament. Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General is in this chamber.
You have your bite, don't worry.
Mr. Speaker,
yes,
but I'm not.
Point of order is
Mr. Speaker,
really raised.
Mr. Speaker, before I'm not challenging your decision to allow a point of order. But Mr. Speaker, let me bring in this preliminary observation. What they are doing is an act of bad faith. No serious Democrats act the way they are acting. Their government communication minister, 27 minutes, said all manner of things. We kept quiet, we listened. It gets to my point. You have the opportunity to speak. Your leader is there. What is all this point of order? Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minority Leader, please. I'm in charge of this matter.
Very well, Mr. Speaker.
So you hold your peace.
Very well, Mr. Speaker.
Let's listen to him. Yes.
You are not tolerant, you people. You are intolerant.
Please. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in pursuance of order 122. We will see. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, it says that a debate may be interrupted by a point of information, elucidation or clarification. Mr. Speaker, these rules apply mutatis mutandis to comments on statements. Mr. Speaker, the minority leader insists that the statement put out by the finance minister was false. He's actually insisting that it was false. Yet, Mr. Speaker, he has failed to produce a scintilla of evidence. Mr. Speaker, one, he claims, please. I thought to say you are the Democrats. Okay. Mr. Speaker, one, he claims that the monies advanced were paid from a certain account. He has failed to produce evidence of that account other than the contingency fund account. Speaker, number two, he insists that when the Attorney General referenced the matter as a subject of garnishing proceeding, oh please, I am laying the foundation. I'm laying the foundation for moving the house that he is out of order. Speaker, number two, is placing his own interpretation on the phrase that when an account. I am your co-equal. I am your co-equal. I am your co-equal. I am in leadership. I am your co-equal. You are my classmate. I am your co-equal. Be a Democrat. Be a Democrat for once. And listen to the talk. You are out of order. You are speaking hot air. There's no evidence based on what you are saying. A subject of proceedings does not amount to a substantive court order. Here not today.
Please. Honorable leaders, please I'll give you enough time, but don't lead us into disorder. Please, you are leaders. Don't lead us into disorder. You may continue.
May Mr. Speaker live long. Mr. Speaker may live very long. Mr. Speaker, I submit that government has breached Article 178 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, they came under Article 177. When they came under 177, and this House, through its Finance Committee, granted their prayer, and they at that moment knew that there was a court order, the right thing for them to have done was to have come to this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, for government to use another source, go into other accounts of the state to withdraw money, Mr. Speaker, it is most unconstitutional, and they should know this. Mr. Speaker, it does not allow for transparency.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
The challenge we have is that this is a statement, and in statements, you don't say things that will lead to debate. You are making allegations where, in the first instance, you read a communication, a letter, who supported some of the allegations you made. But where you are getting into now, I'm not sure you have evidence here as facts to support some of the observations you are making in your statement. So it will be leading us into a debate, which is what I want to caution you against. So please continue.
Mr. Speaker, we have been told that some funds have been released to NADMO. Only yesterday, Mr. Speaker, we saw NADMO at Nima and Accra Newtown sharing baked beans and Indomie. Baked beans. Baked beans. Mr. Speaker, at Nima, sharing baked beans and Indomie. When, Mr. Speaker, people have lost properties, Mr. Speaker, they need rice, they need maize, they need oil, cooking oil. Mr. Speaker, they need government to intervene to restore their businesses. Mr. Speaker, then, Mr. Speaker, we don't even know how they procure these baked beans. Mr. Speaker, people need blankets, people need mattresses. Mr. Speaker, they have refused.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there's a majority that want to contribute. When it gets to
just a
Mr.
minute.
Speaker, why are they doing this?
Just a minute. Or just, I want you to limit your contribution to the statement I
Mr.
made.
Speaker, Felix,
Please. The statement I made. Now, if you want time for us to go into the whole issue of the disaster and how it's being handled, you could come back even by motion, and then the House will have the opportunity to debate all this. But my statement is just on the call for all Ghanaians to stand up and see how we could respond to this calamity. And so I just use that to draw the attention of the House to the fact that we will not sit on Friday, so that you get the opportunity to lead your constituencies to respond to this call from the President. That is where we are. This situation you are raising now will need a complete debate by the House. So please, may you move away from that. But let me listen to a majority leader. What were you trying to say? I'll come back to you.
Mr. Speaker. The minority leader says that the people of Nima and Newtown are not deserving of baked beans and Indomie, and that they should be given rice. No, Mr. Speaker, he said it. He said it.
No.
That they should be given maize and given rice. and that they are not deserving of baked beans and indomie. So the people of Nima should not be given indomie to eat because they don't deserve indomie, they don't deserve baked beans. He just said it, and that's why I think he must withdraw. He must withdraw.
Majority Leader, you are drawing a conclusion or implying that's what he meant. But to say that he said, he didn't say that. He didn't say that the people of Nima or they do not deserve big beans. But by implication, you are drawing that conclusion from his submissions. But I think that is not what he said. Please, may you conclude. Because of the interventions, it's
Mr.
now
Speaker.
25 minutes. So I'm still giving you more listen.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
since this flood occurred, we have not seen the president visiting families. We saw him in the air. We saw him in the helicopter. Mr. Speaker, those who lost their lives, we have not seen any government official reaching out to them, their families. Those who lost properties, we have not seen any action from government. What we know is that the president was comfortably in the helicopter in the name of surveying, finding out. But Mr. Speaker, the people who suffered are in their homes. The people who suffered, Mr. Speaker, they are down there. They are not in the air. Mr. Speaker, this call for us to observe a holiday. Mr. Speaker, I am unable to properly ascertain the motive of government, Mr. Speaker, because there's a disaster. People have suffered. Is government taking data of those who suffered? My own Winneba, Efutu, 6 communities were submerged. Jenjanazi, Atachado, Jahazi, Mr. Speaker, interacting with the chiefs and the people, Mr. Speaker, they are in pain. I've spent days with my people. Mr. Speaker, the roads have been cut off. They can't go to their farms, Mr. Speaker. That is the reality. We are talking about Accra. Winneba, 6 communities. Jenjanzi people cannot cross with Winneba. Jahazi, they cannot. Atachado, they cannot. Inswechi, they cannot. Osbompeyin, they cannot. Atetu, they cannot. Silver Chrome, they cannot. That is the situation. Mr. Speaker, I think, hold the view that, Mr. Speaker, beyond the optics, government must demonstrate serious action. What is the sanitation policy of government? What is the sanitation policy of government? Mr. Speaker, it is not enough to engage in any blame game. They are in charge. They are responsible. They are in government. 1.5 years. Agrobeswa Efianopa. Mr. Speaker, it is their duty to tell the country a clear policy in dealing with this matter. You cannot say that it is leadership problem when you are in opposition, then when you come into office you say it's engineering problem. Mr. Speaker, there must be consistency. There must be some principles. There must be one line argument. They must stand for something. And I don't think they stand for anything. Mr. Speaker, they don't stand for anything. People have died. And the next day, I'm not against declaring a Thanksgiving Day. But how can people be mourning? And then the next day you are in white, with white handkerchief. What do you know that we don't know? What do you know that we don't know? People die, they are suffering, they've lost their, okay, Thanksgiving. What are you thanking God for? We don't know what you know. Tell us. Mr. Speaker, I support your call as a father of this house, that we should observe that day, engage our constituents in this cleanup exercise, keep our environment clean. I support it. But the government must do its side. The local government ministry. Mr. Speaker, if you come into office and you identify irregularities in any contractual obligation, yours is to review. In the process, you don't bring governance to a standstill. For over a year, we've not seen any proper cleaning. Our drains are choked. It's because of government decision. Mr. Speaker, it's because of government decision. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I would want to call on the majority leader, even as he's about to make his own statement, he should do all he can to comply with the rules of this house, because he who comes to equity must do equity. And Mr. Speaker, the statement by the government communication minister, whose statement sought to attack the previous regime, Mr. Speaker, he talked about the Garrick. Mr. Speaker, I need to respond to him. Mr. Speaker, the Garrick project, the World Bank has come out to state publicly that it is as a result of this government's inability to take concrete steps to give effect to that project. The World Bank
Honorable Minority Leader, your time is up now.
Very well, Mr. Speaker, I will respect that.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Speaker, I will respect that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me join colleagues to express our condolences to the families of the deceased and our sympathies to those who have lost property. Their houses have been damaged, flooded, and many have been rendered homeless. And I join Mr. Speaker to express our sympathies to all those families. But Mr. Speaker, let me start from the minority leader's constituency. The minority leader says that his constituency is seriously flooded. Minority leader's constituency is not an urban center. A significant chunk of it is rural. So minority leaders' constituencies floods is not as a result of the lack of primary drainage facilities. Neither is it as a result of the lack of secondary drainage facilities. Neither is it as a result of the failure to clean his constituency.
Yeah, Majority Leader, just a minute. Is on his feet. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, a Futu constituency is not largely rural. It's not largely rural. Two, in the past, the Yensu, where we have the intake center at Silver Chrome pumping station, all through to Jahaze, connecting to Nswechi, was desilted. Mr. Speaker, the past 1.5 years, we haven't seen any desilting. Mr. Speaker, in fact, last year, Honorable Mutawakilu, the MD of Ghana Water, had to visit Winneba. There was this issue of, Mr. Speaker, Galamseyes blocking the waterway all the way into the Ayensu. We raised this. The government failed to respond. It's the reason why 6 communities are suffering. Mr. Speaker.
Minority Leader, but please, this is not a point of order. It's not point
Mr. Speaker, I need to give him points of information.
No,
Mr. Speaker, he is misleading the House. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, don't come into this. He brought himself. He brought himself.
You know,
it's about my constituency.
Yes, please. Majority Leader, you may continue.
What happened last week and what happened in June is something that hardly ever happens in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, in 2025, the total rainfall was estimated at 56 millimeters.
56. On the day when we suffered the floods, it is reported that we had between 140 to 169 millimeters. Just 13 hours. 3 times the entire rain volume of 2025. All that poured into Accra within 13 hours. And Mr. Speaker, it is important to place the development in proper context. It is not just the rainfall of that particular day. The entire month of June, we experienced a lot of rains. So, according to the meteorologists, when you look at the data, the month of June alone experienced over 593 millimeters of rain. And that this has never happened in the history of Ghana. Never happened in the history of Ghana. Never happened in the history of Ghana. So the ground was already soaked. The ground was soaked. So when the downpour, which also hasn't happened since 1995, also came, the ground was already soaked. So I think that it is not in the best taste for us to turn the flooding into a political matter. We can discuss it,
yes.
But I can see clearly that people are politicizing the rainfall, people are politicizing the flooding, and we're still people are even trying to politicize the death that occurred during the flooding.
Majority Leader, just a minute. Yes, please.
Speaker, with respect, the majority leader is now taking us into the arena of theories. Mr. Speaker, there is a real situation, policy failure. He should address it. He is the leader of government business. The government has failed in its policy. You are now saying the ground was soaked. Soaked with what? Soaked with what? Mr. Speaker, he now said the ground was soaked.
Minority leader, please.
Which blood soaked the ground?
Please, this is not point of order. This is not point of order.
Mr.
Yes,
Speaker.
Majority leader, please, you may continue. Majority leader.
Talk about policy. Your government failed.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I think that as a house, we can express our sympathies, we can express our condolences, but let's avoid trying to politicize an occurrence that clearly from the scientific evidence before us could not have been anticipated by any government. In fact, according to the evidence, since 1995, we have never experienced such levels of rainfall. 1995. Such level of rainfall in one day. And throughout the history of Ghana, we have never experienced such rainfall within 1 month. So 1995, unprecedented one-day rain. Since Ghana was formed, unprecedented 1 month rain. We've never seen it. Go to meteorological department. The data is coming from them. That is where the data is coming from. So, Mr. Speaker, that is the problem that we're confronted with. But that doesn't mean that there are no policy failures. That doesn't mean that there are no institutional failures. And that doesn't mean that there is no human responsibility. Those factors are true, and members have raised all of them. As we speak, Mr. Speaker, the major cities of this country don't have master hydrological plans. The plans that exist were drafted many years ago, and they were for limited parts of the cities, and at that time they were drawn for smaller areas. And so if you look at
the drainage infrastructure, the master drainage infrastructure, they cannot sustain the sudden expansion of our cities. And we haven't invested in this infrastructure. So there is a fundamental question of, are we making the right amounts of investments? I hear people talking about monies that have been made available by the World Bank, by IMF, and etc. The truth of the matter is that the volume and then the infrastructure volume that is needed, we need far more than what we are receiving. Let's discuss that. Let's debate that as a parliament. How do we mobilize the amount of monies needed for huge infrastructure development by way of the construction of primary drainage, secondary drainage, and then tertiary drainage? How do we invest in sanitation? These are issues that I expect this House to be debating and then making some recommendations. I have several times said that we are not cashing in on property rates. In the neighborhoods, the drains need to be constructed primarily relying on property rates. If you go to Regmanuel, you go to Trasaco, when it is flooding, you don't see flooding there. You hardly see flooding there because within the estates, the primary drainage infrastructure is well constructed and the property owners are paying for it. When you step outside these estates, the primary drainage infrastructure, they are not constructed. Property owners are not paying property rates to assemblies because assemblies are not also coming to them to demand the property rates. And where do you expect the funding to construct the gutters in front of your homes? So we as Parliament, with oversight responsibility for these agencies, must get them up and doing in terms of their responsibilities. We need to insist that assemblies collect the rates, and that when the rates are collected, we need to insist that they go into the infrastructure needed for drainage in the community, in the neighborhood, so that central government can look at how to invest in the secondary and tertiary drainage infrastructure. But you can't have a central government cough out money for primary drainage, cough out money for secondary, cough out money for primary, tertiary, and property owners are not willing to invest. And yet when the rains come and the floods come, they lose far more than they could have paid as property rates. They lose far more. And then when you ask them why they not paying property rates, they also tell you that the assemblies don't even come to ask for them. And when the assemblies come and collect the money, they don't put the money in the construction of their drains. So there is a problem, fundamental problem. And we as leaders must sit up and look at this and figure out how to deal with it. Instead of trying to create the impression that because so many people died when NDC was in office the first time, and so many people died last week, then NDC must be bringing death. What kind of argument is that? And saying that when there is flooding across the country and the president decides to take a helicopter just to have a clear view of what the situation is, that one is a problem. Why did you buy the helicopters as a government? Why did you buy the helicopters? So that when there is a need to use it to have a proper view of the country, you can do that. How can a president fashion policy if he doesn't appreciate the extent of the problem? So what is ever wrong with a president sitting in a helicopter to go around and see and check if the town is flooded? I am surprised. The president could have walked into a community, but walking into a community does not give you a global view of the problem. And the president deals with the problem generally, a global view of the problem, not micro views of the problem. I'm surprised that such an announcement by the speaker will be greeted with such responses. I'm surprised. But Mr. Speaker, the cleanup exercise is being proposed by government because the whole area has been flooded. A lot of materials have gotten into the drains, and for us to prepare for rains that will be coming, we need to generally clean the place, desilt the various drains, gather the waste, and then keep them at a safe distance so that when it rains in the next couple of days, we are sure that the drains will be able to carry the waters that will be coming down. So it is important for us as members of parliament to go back to our constituencies and then assist them, prepare them, mobilize, because in this instance we need to mobilize. We need to mobilize materials for cleaning, we need to mobilize trucks for hauling the waste to a safe distance. All that requires some investment. And as members of parliament, we all have some small common fund which is given to us. I urge you, you can draw on the common funds that have been given to you to support the effort to carry out the cleanup exercises that will free the drains and free the neighborhoods so that we can be safe when the rains come back. And Mr. Speaker, I also want to draw attention to the fact that we must sensitize our communities, because as we speak, whatever actions will be taken are temporary measures. But I urge the various agencies to prepare, and when the rain stops, let us as a country, please, let's face it, let's take the bull by the horns. Those who have built in waterways, we must demand that they account. Assemblies that have failed in their responsibility to safeguard, green areas and then Ramsar sites and areas that should absorb the water, let's hold the various assemblies to account. That is what we should be doing as leaders. If we do that, I believe that the environment will improve. Let's insist that the planning be done. People are building, and they are building in such a way that everywhere is being concreted. Who is approving those plans? Where you build and everywhere is concreted, the rains come and there is no empty soil that will absorb the water. Those are the issues that we should be dealing with as leaders. Planning. And every single member of parliament is a member of an assembly. And all these decisions are taken at the assembly level. So let's offer leadership at that level. I believe that if we offer leadership at that level, we'll go a long way to try and then solve the problem. But not to politicize the president sitting in a helicopter just so that he can have an aerial view of the flooding that has taken place. Not to politicize people who have died as a result of the helicopter. And lastly, on the issue of the money, let me address that. It is true that the account has been garnished, but you know very well that the public financial management legislation makes provision for the finance minister to be able to make variations and draw the money from other sources. So don't assume that because there is a garnish order, there is no other source for the money. And what the Minister for Government Communications said is that the minister came to this house to obtain permission, and permission was granted for him to draw from that account. If he goes back and finds out that that account is not available, the minister has the discretion. He has the discretion to make temporary arrangements to deal with an emergency, and he can via other allocations in the budget and allocate it so that later on when he deals with the problem with the garnished account, he can then send the money back.
Majority Leader, since you are on this point, your colleague was on his feet. Yes, please let me listen to you.
Mr. Speaker, the Majority Leader is making a very serious statement that have constitutional consequences. Mr. Speaker, is the Majority Leader saying that the Public Financial Management Act allows the Minister of Finance to vary resolution of Parliament and decision of Parliament? Mr. Speaker, there's a world of difference between virement and variation. Mr. Speaker, the Majority Leader must be careful. Mr. Speaker, he should point to which provision in the Public Financial Management Act where the Minister of Finance can come here under Article 177, and when that approval is given, he committee can choose, because government slept on its job, because government could not defend the state, and there was a garnishee order against the government. Mr. Speaker, it is the duty of government to put in place the necessary legislation to protect the contingency fund. Mr. Speaker, how can the leader of government business claim that the Minister of Finance can vary orders of this house? So they've withdrawn money from another source. That is what he's telling us and justifying. Mr. Speaker, you should quote the law.
Please.
Quote the specific provision.
Please.
Quote the law.
Minority Leader, you are a lawyer. Your colleague, Majority Leader, is also a lawyer. At least, as lawyers, do you know of any law which permits the contingency fund to be garnished? In law.
Speaker, I'm able to respond. Mr. Speaker, a good question. And that question goes to the Attorney General. Because you are representing the state. Why did you have the judiciary? You remove the Chief Justice. The entire judiciary is in your arm. You have the whole judiciary. The CJ is your baby. He's following you everywhere. Why would you sit down for them to garnish government account? Mr. Speaker, the entire judiciary is controlled by you. You control the judiciary.
Yes, Majority
Is it only
Leader.
on criminal prosecutions? Mr. Speaker, so the judiciary ruled against you. What did you do? The Attorney General should brief the House.
Minority Leader, I've heard you.
He should brief the House.
Majority Leader,
Come and brief us how the garnishee order came by.
Minority Leader, I've heard you. Yes,
Mr.
Majority
Speaker,
Leader. Yes.
For the Minority Leader to stand in this chamber and tell the Attorney General and Minister of Justice that the judiciary is in his hands. Mr. Speaker, that he, the Attorney General, has removed the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a lawyer of no mean standing like him is telling this house that when MPP was in power, that the Chief Justice was in his hands, that he was directing the Chief Justice, that he was controlling the Chief Justice. Because unless he has controlled the Chief Justice and knows that Chief Justice is capable of being controlled, he cannot accuse others of controlling the Chief Justice. So he is claiming that when he was leader and when MPP was in government, he was controlling the Chief Justice, and that is how he got the Chief Justice to convene a court and then the court to rule against this house sitting at certain times. That's what he's suggesting. So he knows that the Chief Justice can be controlled. So is that what you are doing? Is that what you are doing?
Well, honorable members, we have come to the end of the comments on the statement, and we move on to the next items on the agenda of today, which is on the order paper. All what these lawyers have said, you know, is not the law, so we just ignore it and move on. Yes, please. We have used the whole day on just these two items. Now, we will have to take the correction of votes and proceedings, official reports, the business statement, and then go to some businesses, public businesses, before we can take a bow. I know there are some urgent statements. One in connection with the commemoration of the passing away of one of our colleagues. And then also the other is by the second deputy speaker. So we'll get space for that one to be done. But in the meantime, let's go through this in a rather speedy way. Please, item 6, I will go through with you the correction of votes and proceedings in a very speedy manner, unless one or two of you have observed something that is incorrect and you draw our attention to correct it. So the votes and proceedings will start with the one on Thursday, 2nd July 2026. Any corrections? There being no correction, the votes and proceedings of Thursday, 2nd July 2026 is adopted as the correct record of the proceedings of that day. Now we have two reports, official reports dated 24th June 2026 and 25th June 2026. Any corrections? Honorable members, there being no corrections, the official reports of Wednesday, 24th June 2026 and Thursday, 25th June 2026 are hereby adopted as the correct record of the proceedings of those 2 days. We take item 7, business statement for the 8th week. Chairman, Business Committee. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, your committee met today, Tuesday, 7 July 2026, and arranged business of the House for the 8th week ending Friday, 10th July 2026. And the committee presents its report as follows. Right Honourable Speaker may, as usual, read any available communication to the House. There are 23 questions scheduled to be answered by the ministers for Fisheries, Minister in charge of Government Communication, Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Health, Labor, Jobs and Employment, Foreign Affairs, Transport. Mr. Speaker, one is an urgent question, 22 are oral questions. Statements pursuant to Order 91(2) and 93 may be made by ministers and members of Parliament. Bills pursuant to Order 159 may be taken, and then also we could take them under Certificate of Agency under Order 160. And pursuant to Order 97, papers may be laid during the week, and committees may also present reports to the House. Motions and resolutions may be debated, and their consequential resolutions, if any, taken during the week. On the question of referrals, at the committee, it was observed that the number of referrals have increased to 341 referrals, and the committees are urged to expedite action on the consideration of their referrals and report back to the House. The Business Committee met today because last Friday was a public holiday, and also, Mr. Speaker, the Business Committee planned the sitting for today till Friday, but with your communication to the House that Friday we will not be sitting, I urge members to take that on board and ignore the items listed in the various attachments, which includes some provision that was made for business on Friday, 10th of July 2026. Mr. Speaker, I do urge the House to adopt the report.
Honourable members, the business statement has been presented by the chairman, and I'll proceed to say that is adopted by the House as presented. We move now to the next item. Yes, it's part of the standing orders. I may or I may not permit comments. And I decided not to permit comments because time is of essence today. So please, we will go to statements because the second Deputy Speaker has a very important statement to make, and after that, another member. So, second Deputy Speaker, you may make your statement now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today with gratitude, humility, and national pride to present to you and to this August House a statement on the successful hosting of the 4th African Interparliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty, and Values. This landmark event was convened in this hallowed chamber of our Parliament under the auspices of the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Alban Sumana Kingsford Babin, from 3rd to 6th June 2026. As Chairman of the Conference Planning Committee, I express my profound gratitude to you for accepting to host this unique conference in Ghana. The Planning Committee is also grateful to His Excellency, the President, who was duly represented by the Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Deborah, for graciously opening the conference. I further extend my appreciation to the leadership of both sides of the Parliament, of the House, the entire membership of Parliament, the Planning Committee, the Parliamentary Service, and all who supported the successful hosting of this conference. Mr. Speaker, the first 3 editions of the conference were hosted by the Parliament of Uganda. By bringing the conference to West Africa for the first time, the Parliament of Ghana has expanded the geographic horizon of this vital conference discourse. Mr. Speaker, the conference was guided by the team, and I quote, consolidating parliamentary consensus, advancing the African Charter on Family, Sovereignty, and Values, unquote. This team served as our strategic compass, reflecting an urgent continental imperative to transition from rhetoric to concrete legislative policy. Mr. Speaker, the Accra Conference was an unprecedented assembly of continental leadership, intellect, and civil action. We hosted speakers and presidents of Parliament, presiding officers, and high-level parliamentary delegations representing various nations across Africa. Mr. Speaker, the roll call of participating nations was a testament to the sweeping continental resonance of this cause. From West Africa, we were joined by delegations from Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and our own homeland, Ghana. The North was distinctively represented by the Kingdom of Morocco, while Central Africa brought forth robust representation from Cameroon, Chad, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Equatorial Guinea. From the Prince of East Africa came the venerable delegation of Burundi, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Finally, the presence of the Southern Africa region was felt through the active participation of Botswana, Eswatini, Madagascar, Malawi, Mozambique, South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Beyond the legislative halls, the conference drew participation from stakeholders from the continent, civil society, organizations, distinguished academics, professors of law, policy researchers, traditional leaders, and notable members of the clergy in Ghana and beyond. Mr. Speaker, the conference program was designed to balance formal diplomacy with intense interactive sessions. The opening ceremony set an inspiring and resolute tone with welcome remarks, fraternal messages from visiting speakers and other dignitaries, and keynote address by your good self on Africa's own development paradigm. Mr. Speaker, the core of the conference was characterized by scholarly and practical presentations delivered by world-class resource persons across the continent and beyond, including our own Honorable Samuel Nate George, Honorable Ripoku, and the rest. The experts unpack complex legal and social challenges, including the rising tensions between international aid and state sovereignty and the socio-economic vulnerability confronting African families. They demonstrated that strong and stable family units are the ultimate engine for sustainable economic development, social security, and national resilience. Mr. Speaker, our responsibilities as hosts extended beyond the walls of the conference plenary. True to our national reputations as the gateway to Africa, the planning committee organized, among others, a curated excursion for our international delegates. Delegates boarded GNS Ankobra and GNS Volta and embarked on a memorable voyage on the Atlantic Ocean within the historic Gulf of Guinea from Tema to the point where the Greenwich Meridian meets the equator. The excursion promoted tourism, our rich heritage, artistic expression, cuisines, and hospitalities. Mr. Speaker, the true measure of any conference lies in the tangible outcomes, and I am happy to report that the Accra Conference excelled in this regard. Delegates deliberated on key issues, resulting in the adoption of the Accra Declaration, the African Charter on Family, Sovereignty, and Values. This historic document outlines a value-based legislative agenda for the continent. It reaffirms the sanctity of the family, asserts the absolute sovereignty of African states, and rejects external attempts to tie vital developmental aids to foreign social engineering paradigms. Mr. Speaker, the successful hosting of the fourth conference is not an end, but a catalyst. The immediate way forward requires all participating parliaments to domesticate the resolutions embedded in the Accra Declaration, promote national budget that support family welfare, and foreign policies that guard national sovereignty. Burkina Faso is to host the 5th edition in May, whilst Eswatini the 6th edition in September 2027. Mr. Speaker, adding to the memorable achievements of the conference was the adoption of an official conference anthem composed and performed by a young and enterprising Ghanaian student, Ms. Esther Addo. The anthem captured the spirit of family, sovereignty, and unity, and shared African values. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the 4th African Interparliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty, and Values was a monumental triumph for the Parliament of Ghana and a historic milestone for Pan-African legislative unity. I once again convey my profound gratitude to you, Right Honorable Speaker, to my hard-working members of the Planning Committee, all honorable members of the House, the Clerk to Parliament, Honorable Mr. Jetro, and the Conference Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, Corporate and Financial Management Services, Dr. Mrs. Gloria Sakukumewu, and esteemed staff of the Parliamentary Service. Let us remain steadfast in our commitment to guarding our African values. For in doing so, we secure the future of our children, our nation, and our continent. Mr. Speaker, I thank you most sincerely for this opportunity.
Honorable members, I want on your behalf to thank the Second Deputy Speaker, who was the chairman of the Planning Committee, and in fact, the leader of all that took place during this conference. Second Deputy Speaker Ayiko, what took place really was epitomic of Africa rising, and it was of tremendous success, and it's being talked about the whole continent. I think it excelled even beyond the first, second, and third, which were all hosted by the brotherly country of Uganda. So well done to you and the Planning Committee and all the other members. I will allow just a few comments because I have to rush to attend to another urgent matter. So I'll allow Honorable Emmanuel Bejira and Honorable Boama, who actively participated. There are more members who want to contribute. Then I will allow the Second Deputy Speaker to take the chair, and you can get the opportunity to contribute, because I have to rush to do something else. So, Honorable Emmanuel Bejira, you may set the ball rolling.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, let me commend the maker of the statement, the Second Deputy Speaker, for letting us know what happened really on June 2026. Right Honorable Speaker, this is the 4th edition of the African Interparliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values. And we've had, as you've mentioned, we've had the 3 of the conferences in Uganda, ably convened and sponsored by the President of the Republic of Uganda. So, Speaker, at the last conference last year, we had the decision to bring the conference to Ghana. And I want to commend the Right Honorable Speaker for accepting to host the conference, not only hosting the conference, when every conference hall, including the International Conference Hall, was full, he decided to host the conference right here in the chamber. Mr. Speaker, that alone shows clearly your commitment to the African values and sovereignty that we all know of. Mr. Speaker, the conference was not only on value, but also on sovereignty. We talked about educational sovereignty of Africans. We spoke about even our food sovereignty. We spoke about our clothing sovereignty. We spoke about our languages that we use. Mr. Speaker, with the expose that came from the intellectuals, African intellectuals, clearly shows that we are missing a lot as an Africans. We have given out all that we have as Africans to the Europeans and to other nationals and to other nations. Africa is missing out to the extent that we are now importing the culture and the values of other nations into this country. One of them has to do with what we all know as LGBTQ. Mr. Speaker, that is just a minute part. You ask yourself, what about the GMO foods that we are eating in this country? We have forgotten about own traditional foods that we eat. But the GMO foods that we eat, that is destroying our seed, the seeds that we know of, are all part of the new colonization that is coming to Africa. Mr. Speaker, if we are not careful, our children will begin to speak languages that they cannot even speak their own dialect. Our own dialect that we know of, the mother tongue, if you are not careful, will be missed out. All because there is a recolonization of Africa. And so for us as parliamentarians to move to the sphere that we wanted to take over sovereignty to ourselves, we want to make sure that Africans are noted for what Africans are noted for. The food that we eat, the dress that we wear, the way we speak. In fact, when we went to Uganda, that was the first time I heard of sovereignty as sovereignty. And I was asking, what is sovereignty? Sovereignty. Only to be told that that's sovereignty. So when they came here, when our colleagues came here, all of them said, sovereignty, sovereignty. So maybe we have to change the sovereignty to sovereignty, Mr. Speaker, on the lectern. Mr. Speaker. But every Friday we can wear our food. Mr. Speaker, to the extent that when the
Honourable Member, Second Deputy Speaker to take the chair.
Yes, Honourable Emmanuel.
Mr. Speaker, our sisters and our brothers from Eswatini dressed majestically. Those who watched the video and those who were here saw them in their traditional wear in the chamber here. And so when it came for us to select which country that we will be visiting, Eswatini came top. Until Burkina Faso have to beg all of us that they want to have it because they also believe in African values. Mr. Speaker, if Eswatini can have their traditional dress code, to fascists, to parliament, to international seminars, I don't see why Ghana Parliament cannot adopt fugu on Fridays or Thursdays as our traditional way. It's a way of selling our culture. It's a way of selling our sovereignty. Mr. Speaker, so that we will remove this, attorney general style and suit and be in our fugu and traditional ways. It shows clearly African sovereignty and African value. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the Speaker of Parliament, the President of the Republic, the Chief of Staff, and all those who contributed. Some of our colleagues, Professor Beyo was at his best, and then our brother Honorable Agaga and the rest, they were all here and they contributed a lot. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you so much.
Yes, honourable members, we have a lot to do today, so I'll control the time to 5 minutes. So table, as much as people would like to contribute, nobody should contribute beyond 5 minutes. So table, let's handle the time for me. Yes, Honorable Azegboama.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on the statement ably made by yourself, your good self, on the conference that was held by this Parliament of Ghana, chaired by the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I believe that Ghana showcased its worth when it comes to international conference organization. And this Parliament distinguished itself very, very much profoundly to the globe that Ghana has come of age and Ghana is capable of hosting conference of such international magnitude. Mr. Speaker, the conference was very timely if you look at the subject matter that were discussed. And we had insightful deliberation coming from our clergy, coming from those who also gave some commentaries on the conference. Mr. Speaker, at the end of the day, I want us to look at lessons learned from the conference. And I believe that one lesson that I learned as a participant of the conference has to do with Africa cherishing its own values. Mr. Speaker, our forebears, our forefathers built this country on some solid cultural foundation. And it is important that in as much as we grow and adulterate ourselves with the global space, we would be able to properly identify ourselves as a people with a common identity and a common destiny. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the various countries that were represented, the camaraderie that was shared amongst countries, I had the benefit of interacting with some of our colleagues coming from Kenya and Eswatini, as my colleague Beja indicated. And it helps us to bond and also share ideas about how parliaments are run in these countries, so that out of it, best practices and lessons can also be intimated. Mr. Speaker, I believe that once again, Ghana has distinguished itself well, and I want to thank the Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Right Honorable Abansumana Kingsford Babrin, for his leadership, and also your good self for chairing such an august occasion and distinguishing yourself as a good Deputy Speaker who could handle the program as it turned out. Mr. Speaker, without more, let me thank this House for the cooperation. Remember, out of this, we had to suspend parliamentary sittings for almost 3 days. And so if not for the cooperation and collaboration from both houses, we wouldn't have been here. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you once again for the opportunity to comment on this particular statement. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, let me start from the senior most.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on the statement ably made by your good self. Mr. Speaker, I sincerely wish to thank you for the way and manner in which you handled affairs during the conference. Mr. Speaker, you were around, you participated, and we are very grateful that you were around to lead us. Mr. Speaker, the conference was more or less the reiteration of what our first president, Kwame Nkrumah, had spoken about, the unity of Africa. And if you watched and listened to what transpired in this chamber, Mr. Speaker, you realize that the conference was worth it. In fact, let me go on to support the statement that was earlier made about our colleagues from Eswatini. They were so beautiful, they were so elegant, they dressed appropriately, they comported themselves as expected, and they more or less showed us that their sovereignty was actually being held by themselves. Nobody was interrupting in anything or whatever they were doing. They were a good example, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the presenters, especially led by Honorable Bejra, who has just left the chamber, all made us understand that the sovereignty of we Africans was in our hands, and that it continues to be in our hands. If we want to wash it away, then, but we shouldn't forget that our values, our culture, and for that matter, the various dialects was one of the things that we should uphold. Mr. Speaker, when I went out with colleagues during lunchtime, I admired and appreciated the way organization was done for everybody, at least, and I could listen. I heard how they were happy that our local foods were prepared. They were very happy. Mr. Speaker, let us not forget about one thing. There was an issue that came up, and I have since kept it to myself because I'm like, well, we all cannot be the same. Because that was the time that these xenophobic attacks were taking place in South Africa. And yet, we had the South Africans participate in this program. It shows how much Ghana we care and how hospitable we are. However, there is just one thing missing, and that was when we spoke about the issue of LGBTQ++, for which they said they wanted to abstain. Mr. Speaker, though disheartening, but I believe with time they will learn from all other African countries. I wish to also take this opportunity to commend our Speaker, who ensured that this program, notwithstanding all the problems and issues that cropped up, was held in this chamber. Mr. Speaker, let me also thank you all for having me being one of the individuals or MPs who participated. I'm really very grateful, and I hope and pray that what we have studied, learned, and listened here is upheld for the benefit of all Africa and generations unborn. I thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Honorable Shaibu.
Mr. Speaker, I'm exceedingly grateful for the opportunity. First of all, I think that I should have made a statement, Mr. Speaker. Because you chaired the committee and you chaired it very well, we should have made a statement to praise you and the Right Honorable Speaker for a job well done. Mr. Speaker, for the first time in 5 years, you and Mr. Speaker have managed to bring this very important seminar from East Africa to West Africa. Indeed, a few weeks ago, when I announced it in Eswatini at the OACP conference that the Right Honorable Speaker, your good self, and the leadership of Parliament of Ghana were organizing this important seminar, there was a great deal of applause for you. And so we were not surprised at all, Mr. Speaker, that the organization was super. I mean, participation was excellent. And indeed, you sacrificed lessons and time of this parliament and then made the conference what it was. Speaker, the trust of the conference was about values, was about family, and all this about Africa. Never mind, Mr. Speaker, that at the end of the communique, I mean, some Southern African countries like South Africa declined to sign up. But largely, we're all agreeable that the West cannot impose what their values are on us. And so we must move with the African values that we cherish, the African values that we hold valuable to ourselves, and to bequeath that to our generation yet unborn. Mr. Speaker, I can only thank you and the rest of the leadership, the committee that organized that conference, and the participating countries that came together to make this conference a very successful one. So, Speaker, thank you so much for the statement.
Thank you. Then I go to Hajia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very, very important statement made by your good self, Second Deputy Speaker and Chair of the conference. Mr. Speaker, it's not every day that you wake up in officialdom and big men are happy to come down to our level. We really appreciate it. And we want to commend you highly for this industry. Mr. Speaker, you chaired the planning committee And everyone here has attested to the beautiful job that you did. And I want to add my voice to commend you highly. But going back to the statement, Mr. Speaker, 4th African Interparliamentary Conference on Family Sovereignty and Values, held in Accra, 3rd to 6th June 2026. When we talk about African family and values, the first things that come to mind, Mr. Speaker, we are looking at our culture, we are looking at our traditions, we are looking at our value systems. And Mr. Speaker, we are looking at our festivals, our clothing, and our food. This is Africa when we talk about African family. So when a conference, an international conference for that matter, is organized here in Accra under the theme, as you rightly captured in your statement, consolidating parliamentary consensus, advancing the African Charter on Family Values and Sovereignty, and a news media house in this country reads this theme and yet is able to go out and report that, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, Speaker of Parliament suspends parliamentary sittings for 3 days to hold an LGBTQ conference in the chamber, unquote. Mr. Speaker, this alone takes away from the beauty of this otherwise very important conference. Mr. Speaker, I want to quote Chantal Mouffe, whose theory of antagonistic democracy stipulates that democracy is built on consensus. And that consensus should not eliminate the public sphere. So when we gather here as Africans, African parliamentarians representing the people of Africa, we speak for the people of Africa. We speak in line with the agonistic democratic theory of Chantal Mouffe. So we should celebrate ourselves for that uniqueness. As my senior, Hajia Ladi, MP for Pusiga, indicated that this was a continuation of the vision of the founder of this country, the great Osajefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. That is the vision. That is what we were doing. Some of us were not in Uganda, but we were told that when Ghana came up for nomination to host the 4th Congress, all the countries were added in. Everybody agreed that Ghana should host the conference. That alone is a moment of pride for us. Today, thanks to that singular act of Ghana, the next conference is going to Burkina Faso. So we are still keeping the conference in West Africa. What is more beautiful than this? So I urge all of us, let's celebrate this momentous development of our parliament, headed by the Right Honorable Speaker himself, and ably supported by his Deputy Speaker and the Planning Committee. Mr. Speaker, there was a lot that was said here. But at the end of the conference, we had the tourism part of it, and we went on the boat to sail across the Atlantic. Mr. Speaker, I put a picture on my constituency platform. And you know, that was at the height of the Israeli-USA-Iran war. And they asked me whether I was on the Strait of Hormuz. That I needed to declare my exact locations. But that was the beauty of it. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, your parliament, only 3 MPs.
Thank you so much. So I'm left with 2 people. Honorable Professor Bayu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement eloquently delivered by your good self. I would want to join my senior colleagues and earlier speakers to celebrate your sterling leadership at the committee level, the organizing committee level, and for giving us the opportunity to serve on it. We also want to once again thank the Right Honorable Speaker for the role played in us having a very successful conference. Mr. Speaker, in celebrating your leadership, I celebrate you in particular for giving opportunity to young parliamentarians like myself to have participated in this conference. Not only participate, but I was also nominated as one of the speakers at the conference, and I did not take that lightly at all. I was asked to speak on negotiating health sovereignty in global health governance, an African value-based perspective. And I cherish that opportunity to discuss with the academia and other intellectuals here on that topic. And I would want to emphasize a bit that this conference also emphasized on the health sovereignty. While we talk about African values, it was not all about just LGBTQ as has been purported, but we talked about health sovereignty. And from the speakers across the globe, we looked at health sovereignty to include us determining the health priorities, our own health priorities as Africans, and determine what is good for our health, and not having other people to set the agenda for us. We looked at Africans having a national pride in the fact that we are able to take care of our citizens. If we can provide health care for our pregnant women, if we can provide vaccines for our children, and fund these and not rely on external funding and donor funding, and when those funding dwindle, then our population is left unvaccinated and at risk of preventable illnesses, then we realize that this conference was of value. And it followed after the vision of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama when he launched the African Health Sovereignty here in Accra and came up with the Accra Reset, which emphasized on health sovereignty, that Africans should be able to raise funds to be able to cover the gap that is created by donor funding. And I think we are in that line. On that score, I would want to call on all African nations, especially those that have the capacity to produce vaccines. Let's consider local manufacture of vaccines on the African continent and do pooled purchasing to ensure that we can protect our children and vulnerable groups. Mr. Speaker, this conference also emphasized in the draft charter that we should ban gain of function research, which is that aspect of research that allow organisms like viruses to gain new functions, such as becoming more lethal, more transmissible, and it's a very controversial subject in health research. And I will urge that the conference came up with a roadmap, and that roadmap is that the charter that was agreed on here should be forwarded eventually to the African Union for adoption. I will urge the leadership of the Interparliamentary Union to push this agenda so that the deliverable, the key deliverable of this conference is not left behind. To conclude, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that the next conference is being hosted in Burkina Faso. And as an MP whose constituency borders Burkina Faso, I'll use the opportunity to extend a welcome to members that on your way to Burkina Faso, stop in Hamile so that we can show you around what is in Lambuse. Thank you very much. And by this, I hope that I'll be on that delegation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I'll take the last one, then, yes, Honorable Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the statement. Accept my compliment for the ones that my colleagues have given. Mr. Speaker, my takeaway from the fourth African Parliamentary Family Sovereignty and Family Values was that education without moral and spiritual values produce intelligent criminals. I shall come again. My takeaway, or one of the takeaways from that program, was that education without moral and spiritual values produce intelligent criminals. Aside that, Mr. Speaker, our educational system must build character, not just career. That was another takeaway I got. Mr. Speaker, African family today, which is a proud institution under unprecedented digital assault, was also another issue that came up. What is this bringing about? Mr. Speaker, from the conference, we got to realize that 7 hours average daily screen time is what our children spend in watching the phones we buy for them. Additionally, 62% African children are exposed to pornography online. 62% of our children, the phones we buy for them. The conference revealed this during the presentation by our own Minister of Education, Communication and Digitalization. Mr. Speaker, another issue I learned from the conference is that there's 40% drop in family meal time due to smartphone usage. We don't have time with our children to imbibe in them our family values so that in future they become who we are or better than we are. I won't be doing bad point, Mr. Speaker. We learned also that a $1 we spend on another man's product by way of the suit we wear, the so-called my suit is better than yours, it's a $1 we are spending to sponsor the foreigners and not Ghanaians. And so I go by the proposal that we should eat made in Ghana, wear made in Ghana, dress well in Ghana, and our economies will become what we need. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Leadership, will you say something? Well. So, honorable members, we thank you. I think we have another statement, but that will be taken tomorrow, eh? Anyway, that one is commemorating for the death of our colleague who passed on. I don't know.
Mr. Speaker, let us take the questions. The
questions, then, okay.
We gave the ministers 12 noon. They've been here since 12 noon.
Well. May I respectfully invite the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture to take them. So, Honorable Isaac Opoku, where is he? Yes, Honorable Dr. Isaac Opoku of Finso South, Member of Parliament. Honorable, you have an urgent question, and the Minister is now ready to respond to your question. So may you read the question now, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture what measures the ministry has put in place to prevent the use of unapproved and harmful preservatives, including the use of formalin, for the preservation of fish and fish products to ensure that fish and fish-related products on the markets are safe for human consumption. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, respectfully, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Fisheries and Aquaculture Act 2025, Act 1146, gives significant attention to fisheries post-harvest management, recognizing its importance in ensuring food security, food safety from production to consumption. Post-harvest management covers the entire fisheries value chain, from fishermen and fish farmers to processors and traders, and requires effective regulation to safeguard public health. The ministry, through the Fisheries Commission, is implementing, therefore, the following measures to prevent the use of unapproved and harmful preservations in fish products. Mr. Speaker, permit me to outline a number of activities undertaken in terms of current and immediate interventions. 1. We have carried out education and sensitization of fishermen, fish farmers, processors, and traders on proper fish handling, hygiene, and quality assurance practices. In collaboration with the FAO, the ministry has developed information, education, and communication materials in 6 local languages to promote best practices across fishing communities nationwide. We have also deployed ad hoc task forces to major aquaculture sites, landing beaches, and fish markets for monitoring and rapid product testing. We have intensified public awareness campaigns through radio and television in collaboration with civil society organizations and NGOs within the fisheries sector. We have also on occasion arrested and prosecuted offenders involved in the use of harmful preservatives and chemicals. Mr. Speaker, there are some medium-term interventions that we have outlined. One is to expand the Fisheries Enforcement Unit's mandate to strengthen monitoring, compliance, quality assurance, and consumer protection within the post-harvest sector. 2 is to introduce the Tory meters and rapid diagnostic test kits at landing beaches and fish markets to assess fish freshness and detect harmful chemicals.